Have you got a patch of ground in your garden that just seems to sit there in the shade, stubbornly refusing to burst into life? Well, don't despair. It's a common misconception that shady gardens are a lost cause. Some of the most beautiful plants positively relish a bit of shade and will reward you with years of lush green growth. Welcome to Don't Do This Guide, where we'll explore how to make the most of those shady corners. We'll be looking at how to choose the right plants for different types of shade, from the cool, dappled light under a tree to the deep shade of a north-facing wall. And don't worry, we'll be focusing on plants that are low maintenance and easy to care for because gardening should be a pleasure, not a chore. So if you're ready to transform your shady spots from forgotten corners into thriving havens, hit that subscribe button and let's get started. Before we dive into those gorgeous shade-loving plants, let's understand a bit about shade itself. Not all shade is created equal. Just like us, plants need different amounts of sunlight to thrive. Full shade usually means less than 3 hours of direct sunlight a day, typically in the early morning or late evening. Think of areas under dense trees or close to north-facing walls. Partial shade gets around 3 to 6 hours of sun a day, often found in areas with dappled sunlight. Dappled shade is characterized by patches of sunlight filtering through the leaves of trees or shrubs. Understanding the type of shade you have is crucial because it will determine what plants will thrive there. Some plants that tolerate full shade might struggle in partial shade. Observe your shady areas throughout the day to note how much sunlight they receive. Even within a single shady area, there can be variations in light levels. Don't be afraid to experiment and move plants around until you find their sweet spot. Now that we've got the technicalities of shade out of the way, let's get down to the really fun part, choosing the plants. And we're going to start with perennials, those stalwarts of the garden that come back year after year, providing structure and interest. One of my absolute favorite shade-loving perennials is the hosta. Oh, the glorious hosta. With its lush, sculptural foliage in a dazzling array of colors and patterns, it's a true showstopper. From the deep greens of Sum and Substance, to the chartreuse hues of Sun and Substance, to the variegated wonders of Francais, there's a hosta out there for every taste. And the best part? They're incredibly low maintenance. Just give them a good mulch in the spring and watch them thrive. Next up, we have ferns, those elegant and ancient plants that bring a touch of woodland magic to any shady spot. From the delicate fronds of the Japanese painted fern to the architectural majesty of the ostrich fern, there's a fern to suit every style. They prefer a moist, humus-rich soil, so make sure to amend your soil with plenty of organic matter before planting. And let's not forget about astilbes, those feathery plumes of color that dance in the shade. From the soft pinks of fennel to the vibrant purples of purple candles, astilbes add a touch of whimsy and romance to any shady border. They prefer a moist soil and will even tolerate some sun if it's not too intense. Another great choice for shady gardens is the bleeding heart, Dicentra spectabilis. With its heart-shaped flowers dangling delicately from arching stems, it's a real charmer. These are just a few of the many wonderful perennial plants that thrive in shade. While perennials are fantastic for providing structure and year-round interest, sometimes you just want a burst of vibrant color to brighten up those shady corners. And that's where annuals come in. One of the most popular shade-loving annuals is the impatiens. These cheerful little plants are available in a rainbow of colors, from fiery oranges and reds to cool blues and purples. They're also incredibly easy to grow and will bloom their hearts out all summer long. Just give them a shady spot with moist, well-drained soil, and they'll reward you with months of color. Another great choice for shady gardens is the begonia. From the wax begonias with their glossy leaves and clusters of small flowers, to the tuberous begonias with their large, showy blooms, there's a begonia out there for every taste. Begonias prefer a shady spot with moist, well-drained soil. They're also relatively low maintenance, although they do appreciate a bit of deadheading to keep them looking their best. If you're looking for something a little bit different, why not try coleus? These foliage plants are known for their brightly colored leaves, which come in a dazzling array of patterns and textures. From deep reds and purples to vibrant greens and yellows, there's a coleus out there to suit every taste. Coleus prefer a shady spot with moist, well-drained soil. They're also relatively low maintenance, although they do benefit from pinching back to encourage bushier growth. These are just a few of the many wonderful annual plants that thrive in shade. Now, we've talked about the stars of the show, those perennials and annuals that take center stage in our shady borders. But what about the supporting cast? Those unsung heroes that provide a lush green backdrop and help to suppress weeds. That's where ground cover plants come in. One of my favorite ground covers for shady spots is Vinca minor, also known as periwinkle. This vigorous grower quickly forms a dense mat of glossy evergreen foliage, effectively choking out weeds. In the spring, it's adorned with delicate periwinkle blue flowers, adding a touch of charm to the shady garden. Vinca minor prefers a shady spot with moist, well-drained soil. It's also relatively low maintenance, requiring only occasional trimming to keep it in check. Another great choice for shady areas is Pachysandra terminalis, commonly known as Japanese spurge. This evergreen ground cover forms a dense carpet of glossy, dark green leaves, providing year-round interest. In the spring, it produces small white flowers, but they're not particularly showy. Pachysandra terminalis prefers a shady spot with moist, well-drained soil. It's also very low maintenance, requiring little to no pruning. If you're looking for a ground cover with a bit more color, consider sweet woodruff, also known as Gallium odoratum. This charming little plant forms a dense mat of fragrant, bright green leaves, which release a sweet, hay-like scent when crushed. These are just a few of the many wonderful ground cover plants that thrive in shade. Now, we've covered ground cover, perennials, and annuals, but what about adding some height and structure to our shady gardens? That's where shrubs come in, those woody plants that bridge the gap between the low-growing ground covers and the towering trees. One of the most popular shade-loving shrubs is the hydrangea. Oh, the glorious hydrangea, with its large, showy flower heads in shades of pink, blue, white, and even green. It's a true showstopper. And the best part? Many hydrangeas thrive in shade, especially the mophead and lacecap varieties. Just give them a spot with moist, well-drained soil, and they'll reward you with months of color. Another great choice for shady gardens is the rhododendron. These evergreen shrubs are known for their beautiful, often fragrant flowers, which come in a wide range of colors, from soft pinks and purples to vibrant reds and yellows. Rhododendrons prefer a shady spot with acidic soil that's rich in organic matter. They're also relatively low maintenance, requiring only occasional pruning to remove dead or diseased branches. And if you're looking for a shrub with a bit more architectural interest, consider the Japanese maple, also known as Acer palmatum. These elegant trees are known for their delicate lace-like leaves, which come in a variety of colors, from deep reds and purples to vibrant greens and yellows. Japanese maples prefer a shady spot with moist, well-drained soil. They're also relatively low maintenance, requiring only occasional pruning to maintain their shape. These are just a few of the many wonderful shrubs that thrive in shade. Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this video, from understanding different types of shade to choosing the right plants. But before we wrap things up, I want to touch on some common mistakes that gardeners make when planting in shade. One of the biggest mistakes is overwatering. Just because a plant prefers shade doesn't mean it likes to be soggy. In fact, many shade-loving plants are susceptible to root rot if the soil is too wet. So it's important to check the soil before watering, and only water when it's dry to the touch. Another common mistake is choosing the wrong plants. Just because a plant tag says shade tolerant doesn't mean it will thrive in deep shade. It's important to do your research and choose plants that are well suited to the specific light conditions in your garden. Another mistake is neglecting to amend the soil. Shady areas often have compacted soil that's low in nutrients. Before planting, it's important to amend the soil with plenty of organic matter, such as compost or well-rotted manure. This will improve drainage, aeration, and fertility, giving your plants the best possible start. And finally, don't be afraid to experiment. Gardening is all about trial and error. There you have it, your complete guide to creating a lush, low-maintenance shade garden that looks amazing with minimal effort. Remember, understanding your shade type is key, and choosing the right plants is half the battle won. From stunning perennials like hostas and ferns, to vibrant annuals like impatiens and begonias, there's a world of shade-loving plants just waiting to brighten up your garden. Don't forget those hard-working ground covers and the elegance of shade-tolerant shrubs. If you found this helpful, smash that subscribe button and drop a comment below sharing your favorite shade plant. Your gardening success story starts here with Don't Do This Guide.